the stretch in the slop at Pimlico, and American Pharaoh has pulled away to a 2.5 length lead over Divining Rod. And then it's Dortmund. Tail of Verve, a huge long shot, is making a move on the far outside, but American Pharaoh is all by himself. He is 5 lengths in front as they come to the wire, and American Pharaoh and Victor Espinosa have won the Preakness over Tail of Verve.
Yeah, it is the distance of 1.5 miles, which horses never go, and you got to have impeccable breeding to win that last race. No posers usually win that last race.
Plus you have to really know that oval, because it's such an enormous oval that a lot of times, like what happened with Smarty Jones, they make their move entirely too early. They misjudge. You have jockeys like Stuart Elliott who didn't belong at Belmont, and they don't time their moves correctly. No matter how much how much work they get up there, when the lights come on, it's a whole different story.
That track is when you walk in, Coos, when you walk into Belmont Park, you cannot believe how big that track is. It's 1.5 miles oval as compared to 1 mile of every other track. So the horses just aren't used to running there, and they're young horses and they're there for the first time usually, and they just don't respond. And it's a lot of breeding. You got to be bred almost impeccably to win the Belmont. You don't for the Kentucky Derby, you don't for the Preakness, but for the Belmont, I think you do.
And Keeks, correct me if I'm wrong, are you the one who just predicted that Nyquist could do it?
Yeah, I did. I think.
I got to tell you something.
I think it's another case where, like last year, and American Pharaoh was a phenomenal horse, which you could tell by he ran a 2:26 Belmont, which is probably the fastest since. I think it's the fastest ever since Secretary ran a 2:24. But I think Nyquist is just heads and tails above every other horse this year. I mean, there's a lot of bad horses with one great horse. And I think Exaggerated will run second in the Preakness, and he'll come back in the Belmont, obviously, because he likes the distance, and he'll run second again. People will think he's going to win because it's a longer distance, but obviously veteran horse players like me know that even though it's a longer distance, he's still going to finish second.
I got to agree with Mr. Keeks. If you look at the setup, first of all, last year, the class of horses was quite a bit different. Better horses coming out of Derby. It was a very, very tough race. Pharaoh had to run the race of his life. He ran the race of his life, and then he wiped out any prospect of seeing any kind of decent horse show up at the Preakness, and then he had to show up for the big race at Belmont. If you're going to look at it in parallel terms, in terms of boxing, here's the difference. When you win the Derby, you're bred like a fighter, kind of like, I would say, Larry Holmes. Okay, can't lose. He's gonna be there every round, every fraction, every quarter. He's gonna be there every step of the race, and ready to win when it comes down to the wire in the 12th round. The Preakness is a little bit different. The Preakness has a track that's not conducive to looking at horses that could run the Preakness and the Belmont. So the style of the race has got to be decidedly different. You need a very good jockey, and here's where I think that there may be a play against the jockey Gutierrez in this race, because you got other jockeys in the race that are smarter than Gutierrez, or more seasoned and tested, and you got to be a tactical fighter. In this race, the Preakness, you got to be quick, fast, you got to run your turns, and you got to find your lanes. And this race is more like, I would say, Floyd Mayweather Jr. You have to be a tactical fighter, tactical jockey to win the race. And again, the horse helps out a lot. So last year's race, American Pharaoh, looking at the similar style of horses, Nyquist is perfectly situated to do that as well. Now let's move on to the Belmont. Big sweeping turns, 2-turn race. You have to be bred for endurance. Is Nyquist bred for endurance? The answer is yes. He's as bred for endurance as American Pharaoh, and he's shown his style of race that can meet to win the Belmont Stakes. We go back to its near-do-well second-place finisher. Was it 5 times they've raced? 5 times Exaggerated has been beat by Nyquist. Yeah. But in the Belmont, in the Belmont, this is a race that's perfectly situated for Exaggerator that has a very strong closing kick, which is why I'm surprised that DeSormo is running his horse out there for the Preakness and giving up the possibility of having the closing stride and the stamina needed to win the Belmont. So to win the Belmont, if you're a boxer, you got to be like Muhammad Ali. You got to be able to take punches, rope-a-dope, get punched by big hitters like George Foreman, and still win the race, win the fight, be there at the end when the bell rings. Three totally different tracks, three totally different races, three totally different styles. But I agree with Mr. Keeks.
Absolutely.
Nyquist looks like a repeat. So we're looking at 77, 78 all over again. And I think we're going to have back-to-back Triple Crown winners.
And Anvil, what do you think?
Greek, Mr. Greek, the scenario that you just drew up there kind of sounds more like the Sunday Silence Easy Goer battle of 1989.
Could be, or the Aladar Affirmed.
It looks like Aladar Affirmed. Sunday Silence also. So all you guys are listening out there.
Sunday Silence won the first two, and then Easy Goer, which in my opinion was the greatest horse to not win the Triple Crown. That horse should have won the Triple Crown.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
That's the greatest horse I've seen.
He had the second fastest Belmont Stakes, I believe, ever, tied with American Pharaoh. 26.
And Pat Wade All Day is the reason why he did not win the Triple Crown.
Absolutely.
Well, big sire, Aladar sired horse, Easy Goer. So there you got it. Roadie listeners, the road lies from Miami, one hotel rooftop with Alvin from Elmont, Mr. Keeks from Bensalem. We've given you a complete and total analysis of this coming Saturday's Preakness from Pimlico Racetrack in Baltimore, Maryland. Is it Baltimore, guys, or near Duwell, Baltimore? It is definitely Maryland. It is definitely Baltimore proper. Baltimore proper, Maryland.
Baltimore ghetto.
Don't stray too far from the track unless you got an AK-47.
Okay, so Coos, you certainly want to know where the Mad Greek lies in terms of the win place show and fourth place finisher of the Preakness. So I think you're looking at another match race between Exaggerator and Nyquist. I don't know who's going to finish on top. I think the horse race here at Pimlico is certainly more conducive to Nyquist. If you're looking at last year's Triple Crown Derby and Preakness with American Pharaoh, Nyquist, like Mr. Keek said, looks remarkably similar to American Pharaoh. So I think Nyquist will come out on top again. I think you'll find Exaggerator underneath. I kind of like Collected, the 7-horse, the Baffert entry with J.J. Castellano on top. And coming in underneath for the Superfecta, I like Uncle Lino, the 2-horse, the Gary Sherlock trained horse with Perez on top. You're listening to The Road with the Mad Greek, Mr. Keeks from Bensalem, Albert from Elmont, and John the Coos Iannuzzi at the Com. We're live from the One Hotel here in Miami Beach as a preview to the Preakness Stakes, which is tomorrow at 6:45 p.m., live from Pimlico Downs in Baltimore, Maryland. Good luck to all listeners out there, and bet with your head, not over it.